Ladies and gentlemen, you are now watching In Vegas 702.
With Ruby Ojeda. Today I have a very, not only beautiful inside and out, but a very inspiring woman that has her personal brand and her own company. And she is here today to share a little bit more about her story. Her name is Char. Char, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course. How are you?
I'm doing great. I feel like, what is today? Monday? I don't even know what day it is, but we're here. Tuesday. See what I mean? Then things get so busy. I'm doing great, though. I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. So honestly, we have a friend in common.
Yeah.
Rob. Hi. We miss you. He's in the Philippines now.
I know.
But
he's enjoying his time.
thanks to him, I got to know a little bit more about you.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, like your story, it's really impressive. Your area of expertise, the way you have helped thousands of businesses here in Vegas. I honestly would love to talk a little bit more about that. But first of all, How did you end up living in Las Vegas?
It's been a while. So I moved here in 2010, and I actually moved out here by myself. I was given an opportunity. At the time, I had been working at a university for several years, and I was just aching to leave. And I thought, maybe I love the fitness industry. I'll go back to school for kinesiology. And then I was really in love with the marketing side of it and learning how, like, promotions and marketing in general, just at where I was working already. And I got this opportunity from a man that lived in Vegas. Him and his wife were launching a energy drink, and they needed help. And I started to find models in different states while I was in Indiana. And then they offered me to move to Vegas for the launch. And I took it, and I left. I left and only put what I could bring into my car. I left a boyfriend behind. I left everything behind. And it was like on good terms, but it was just time for me to leave. And you just realize, like, these are fork in the road. I'm going west. And initially I thought it was going to be California, but it ended up being Las Vegas.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What is it that you like the most about Vegas?
The people. I don't think, unless you live here, which you know, but people don't realize that, like, they truly become your family. It's not just like, oh, just friends or people that are just trying to get ahead here. It's very different for the locals. And only way to explain it is by actually living here, because the people that I met the first year that I moved in Las Vegas are my closest friends to this day. And I would have never met them, had those experiences, just like learned about other cultures and people from around the world the way that I did by moving here, because I lived in Indiana. And although we had a university that brought in diversity, living here was just a completely different experience, and it opened up so many doors for me. And I just feel like it's really about the people here.
Yes, I agree with you. I feel like we all have like this special love about Las Vegas community. Mm-hmm. For me, I just felt like very welcome in this space.
Yeah.
And I started learning, because what is special about Vegas also is it has people from everywhere. You know, so that creates it like a different environment. Mm-hmm. Also is a city that's growing like super fast.
So fast. Crazy.
And then with the grow comes a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely.
And then a lot of people from different parts moving over here and wanting to build, you know, something for themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like the entrepreneurs are the ones who need the most help while they're launching their businesses or, you know, making their dreams come true.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we find ourselves lacking certain information, you know, that might take us a little bit longer to get to where we wanted to go in the first place. Mm-hmm. But I always say it's very important when we get closer to the experts, you know, somebody or mentors or people that's already where you want to be at, and just, you know, like learn from them as much as you can, because you're going to get there faster than if you're in your own.
Yeah, and Vegas is a hub for entrepreneurs. There's so many entrepreneurs that move here. It's just good for taxes and for business purposes too. And I feel like people are starting to recognize that now, that as an entrepreneur, like our business owner, you get the support of the community and your friends, often more the people that you meet here. Everyone supports one another. Mm-hmm. And so you can't pay for that. That's from building those relationships. And I think it's like one of those cities where people really, they show up for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really special about this city. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit more about we know now how you got here to Las Vegas,
Sure.
but how was the process for you, you know, as a woman trying to build your own brand,
Yeah.
you know, like marketing first, creating something for you so you can cater to others?
Yeah, it didn't start out that way. It really started out with me scrambling to figure out how to make a living because the job that I moved here for didn't work out. There was never a moment in me that I thought that I was going to be back. I was like, okay, at the time, someone said, why don't you do promotional modeling? And I go, I don't know what that is. And they're like, people will pay you to promote products and be pretty or something. And I was like, they do? And so I kid you not, at the time, you could do this. But I looked on Craigslist for people looking for promotional models. And I booked my ass on Craigslist. And I booked trade shows and events. And I lied on my resume to do it. And I just did what it took to make ends meet. And I didn't want to I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to get too involved in the nightlife. And then later on, I did work some of the nightlife. But I knew I was like, I'm a day person. Like, I know everybody else goes to the clubs next, but for me, that wasn't the fit. And I really had a lot of fun. I felt like, I don't know, I felt like it was like a weird way of moving backwards in age because I was working a serious job before in a very uptight office under the president of the university. And then it was like I couldn't even speak unless he spoke to me. It was like one of those situations. And then I like moved to Vegas and then I'm like, peace. I'm going to work trade shows and events and get paid to go out and have fun. And I really enjoyed that, like with no shame. And I met so many people. Like, this marketing journey was long because what happened was I was in love with social media just for fun as a creative outlet because Instagram, that's when it emerged around the same year. And I was just playing around with it as a tool and for fun. And then people were like, oh, I see you're posting. Can you post some stories while we're here at the trade show? Do you mind helping us out? And then I was like doing some other stuff. And they were like, hey, can you help me? Give me some, tips on how to use this. And I'm like, I was doing Facebook and I was trying Twitter and Instagram. And it was like this long journey to get there. And then to fast forward, I ended up getting asked by some businesses. I think it was like a med spa reached out to me. I like offered my help for free first to make over like 3 business accounts. When I did that, I used that as leverage to prove that I was capable of at least aesthetically building accounts to start so they at least made sense when you hit their page. And this was like years ago. This was probably 7 years ago. And then because I did that, I was able to get paid work. When I started getting paid work, it evolved from doing med spa, dentist offices, and businesses of that nature. Like, I kept getting more of the same, and plastic surgeons, to people like human-backed brands. And so I actually was kind of deep into just taking whatever at the time and then dealing and staying specifically with those. And then I was working with Supplied Shop, which they're closed now. And I was like teaching they had like 4,000 people in their community online, teaching them how to use themselves as a personal brand to like these boutique owners would buy the stuff from Supplied Shop to resell.
Okay.
And so it was a wholesaler. And so I was teaching them how to build themselves as a personal brand to stand out because they were all selling pretty much the same products, but presenting it differently.
Got it.
And so that was sort of when things started to go into more of the personal branding and I learned more about it. And then I got like a big break probably when I was helping a couple of my friends, Lisa Song Sutton. I was helping a friend here in town who's a powerful businesswoman. And then I went to Texas with her, met Cody Sanchez, who's a big name now. And that's when I had my big break, is when she took me on as a social media manager, or I took her on, however you want to say it. But I remember that was a big pivotal moment for me because it was the first person that sort of like gave me a chance to really do it all for what they were doing, like really come up with the initial messaging and content strategy with them. And she's got like, I don't know, maybe almost 2 million followers on Insta, over 1 million on YouTube. She's on all platforms. And from there, I started getting a lot more clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so important what you're saying right now when we know we're capable and we know we have the talents, but sometimes it takes just one person that believes in our capability of doing what we were always meant to do.
Yeah.
And that totally creates like this shift where we see ourselves capable of that.
I saw it in her And I don't know if anybody had said the exact words that I had said to her, but I really had a moment with her on a paddle board. We were just there. I was just there hanging out with a friend, like crashing in her place. Like I was just kind of going around with my friend traveling and enjoying my life. But we were on paddle boards together and we were like faster than the rest of the group. So we had a chance to chat. I didn't know anything about her. And I remember she said that she had owned 26 businesses. And I was like, wait, what did you say? And I'm like, tell me more about yourself, you know? And then I was like, I said, how are you not famous? Like, you're the next Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, you should be famous. And I didn't mean it because she needed the fame. I meant it because she was such a powerful woman that could be teaching other people, like, have such impact. Like, I was just, because it was impacting me. Like, it was giving me a moment to be around her. And I recognized that in her. And then I went home and she reached out to me and hired me. And she was just like, I would be a fool. She thought like her husband was, I can't remember what brand he was working with at the time, thought they needed help. And then she goes, you're a fool not to hire her. I will hire her. And she hired me. And then she only had 30,000 followers, I think, at the time, and wasn't clear on the direction she was going exactly. And so I had to give a lot of credit for that too. And I think she gives me a lot of credit for being in the beginning stages and also believing in her too when she was just starting out with a small team.
I think that's always like at the beginning, right? When you're just like the evolution of your story, your brand, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's usually helping other people, other businesses, but eventually you go to that point into you're in the moment where you're like, you know what? I thought recently, like, what if I hire myself as I contribute to other projects and other businesses? Mm-hmm. What would have happened if I finally, like work for myself and create something as with my personal branding, with my essence, you know, with who I am. And something that I recognize about your vision is I see you all over the place, but it's really you. It's like your ideas, you're communicating in front of the camera. And that makes me feel like, first of all, I know you. Like, I see there's a connection, and I see that you're doing what you're telling other people to do. Because that's sometimes something that happens that you're like, how? Like, it doesn't make sense. But with you, it's just like, I don't know. It's just the way you do things. I'm like, I'm interested. Like, I want to know more.
Thank you. I struggled with this too because, well, I started out doing the influencer content creating as just a passion, which I still have my main page, and I still do like collaborations and stuff. And a part of me is like, oh, do I like quit that because it's lifestyle or it's more of like a social light page? I don't know. I go to events and these are things I do for fun, and it kind of spills over to work. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to for me, it made sense to make a separate page to focus on the business part because it needed a different audience. And I had been teaching people and working behind the scenes for years, but I wasn't at the time doing it myself. I was doing it for everyone else. It wasn't me just consulting. I had managed several people and done the thing, but I hadn't spent the time on myself. And I knew that I first was like, okay, I want to make an X amount of income before I worry about my personal brand. I also want to help other people make an X amount or grow a certain amount so I can use that as leverage, just as proof that I'm capable of, like, the advice I'm giving isn't just like, just me saying that this is what could happen. I have results. And so I waited until I felt I had enough results to have clients speak on my behalf and go to bat for me. And I built a business on referral for the last 5 or 6 years. This is the first year I'm launching a course, and I'm actually going to, advertise it and offer my services openly. It was all word of mouth. And so I'm very excited about that phase, but it came late for me. A lot of people in these industries online, what they do is especially like in mine, they'll build up their own following and they'll sell their own course on how they did it for themselves. And there was very few of us that actually did it for other people and then used that to build the course around what they did for other people and not their self. And so that's kind of what I did is I went the other direction of like, I didn't just double down on my content and grow to 100K in 6 months. I've been so busy working and running content teams as 7-8-figure entrepreneurs that now I'm taking that knowledge because I know that there's so many diverse things that come into play for, especially like I specialize in experts and entrepreneurs and coaches. What that means is, like you say, Char, who is your audience? I'm going to say an expert, coach, and entrepreneur who wants to launch a personal brand using Instagram. Specifically, you can also just content in general to grow. And every one of them has a purpose, usually is something to sell. So, or they're building up, launching a newsletter. I've had some with newsletters as well, I think 3 now. And they are leveraging the audience on Instagram to grow these other things that become assets to their company, or they're making cash or income on it. And then they're able to teach, like, how did I make my money? This is how. And then they're able to share that knowledge. So mine's very niche down to, there isn't a person that I've probably coached, maybe a couple, who didn't make significantly more than me, so smart. And I wasn't also learning while coaching or consulting them, because they're brilliant, brilliant people who've already had success. And now they want to, like I said, teach it to somebody else. So those are the people that I consult, but I didn't have a coaching, or I didn't have a course for the people who are like, Char, I can't afford the consulting services right now, or to have you do a takeover on my page. I'll do these 90-day takeovers for people who apply for the program. Only a few at a time, and we come in and we do their page for 90 days, everything, the strategy, the content, everything. And I was like, what about the people who want to do it themselves? What about, like, I'm a coach, can I just take a course so I can learn how to do this myself? And that's where I focus this energy on this year, is getting that course ready, which you can sign up for now. So anyway, that's kind of like the journey of things for me.
I want to sign up. I feel like, let me tell you something, and something that I tell everyone, because I've done it with myself, is every dollar and penny that you invest in yourself, like you just said right now, they were already doing great, but with a little bit more of my expertise, they end up, getting in a different place. But they were already, in the same path. It's just like you're giving them this little push so they can get there by their own. And I think it's very important investing in yourself, even though you think you know it all. I think we don't. Sometimes
I'm forever a student.
There's like times where I'm like, I could say I'm familiar with certain concepts and things that you're sharing right now.
Sure.
And I might, have done certain things similar for other brands. However, I don't have the specific knowledge that you have, because you've worked with different concepts that I might benefit from if I complement what I already know with what you know. And that's when you just do your own like mix of expertise in certain areas, and then you do this breakthrough.
I hired a coach for the first time this year, and they didn't teach me. It was somebody in my industry. Somebody else would call them a competitor, and I'm like, no, we don't compete at the top. We collaborate. Like, we learn from each other, and we're not afraid to pay, because this person was better at one thing. I spent like $8,500 on for just literally one thing. I was like, I know all the rest. Went through everything. It was kind of like, oh, I could take some information here and there, but I know this. But that one thing helped me so much, because I was having trouble with my own clarity for my course. I give clarity to people all the time. I think the majority of the consulting services that I sell isn't because they don't have an idea, or they're completely unsure. They kind of have an idea of what they want from it, but then they go in there and they're like, I just needed the clarity. I just needed someone to say, like, okay, you have 100 options. I even know that there's 100 options, but going with this one will help you get there. And like, just giving that direction and the clarity to get it off their plate so they're not overthinking it is where, like, I have made it very simple and actionable, because in the beginning I didn't. And I had created this really long, horrible course that I kind of like walked people through. And I know that someone's going to watch this at some point. Anyway, we follow each other still. And I feel so bad, because this person who's big now, is an iHeartRadio podcast and all this, bought my services premature a couple years ago. And I feel so bad, because I was trying to walk an entrepreneur who is already successful and busy through this long process. And immediately they're like, hell no, I'm out. And not long after, they got signed and everything by iHeartRadio. And so they're doing fine. But I'll never forget. And I went, I wouldn't want to sit and listen to all of this. I gave them too many options. Instead, people don't want the training as much as they want just to know what to do. I'm low on time. Please help me make a decision. Now give me some information that will educate me on making a better decision. But ultimately, it's like, who do I need to hire to help me to get there? Because I will not shy away from the fact that if you're building a personal brand, you need a team. Look, if you're serious about it, it is really hard. If you own a business, you have no business doing everything, because then that means you're taking away from the money, your main source of income, where you could be utilized the most. Because if you make, let's just say, $30 an hour, $40 an hour, $50, $150 an hour, some of them make $500 an hour. If you make more an hour than you could be outsourcing for someone to video edit, to film you, to manage your social media, like you're taking dollars out of your pocket on a project you could be outsourcing to get there quicker by somebody that's an expert in it for $7, $8 an hour.
Exactly.
And so I really had to dial in on my own message the last few years. And and now it's like so embarrassing sometimes to look back, you're like, the mistakes that I made, but that helped me refine to come up with like consult offerings where I can just kind of like flip it now. I'm like, I just delivered a content strategy today. Took me 90 minutes with this client to get all the information I needed to deliver it. And then they're like, boom, that's exactly what I needed. I know what to do. You answered the questions. You showed me visually. You showed me what to start with. You told me, how to get to the next level after I finish this out, because this could probably last me the next, 3-6 months to a year, this strategy. And just making it, like I said, simple and actionable. And that took me making things too complicated. It took me also taking a lot of courses and buying other people's courses to see how they simplified things. And I'm using that as inspiration. And I had to learn along the way. It didn't come easy to me. I had to learn,
Of course. I think that's also the part of being a human being. And when you have a project that you believe in, it's like, what I like to say is like, it's a baby, right? And then you're growing that baby, but then often you realize we're growing together.
Yeah.
Because everything that happens to me, I can nurture this baby from this experience that I'm getting. And there's no way we can have your project up here, but you're down here. Like, it wouldn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, we're just kind of like learning. Nothing can be perfect. That's the beauty of being alive and having this human experience, that things sometimes get dirty, know?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not perfect. I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned from other people's mistakes. I continue to learn. I'm still a content director, contracted with another company. I'm the only woman in the company that's at the top. I'm over a team called Men of Action. And and I've been with them for almost 2 years now. And I like it because, Char, why would you have like such a big client and be running their team and your own? And it's because it keeps me like sharp, because they're all masterminds of people over on everything. And it keeps it, I learned so much. It's like being in a mastermind that I'm like, I would be paying for the education and the conferences that I'm getting by actually doing this for them. And so it's interesting. Like, if you look at my daily life, you might think, oh, she's like managing accounts, and no, I'm actually running an entire team over here, and they're almost 8 figures now. And I built their organic funnel, which they used to rely on ads, and by just building up different team members and strategies. And like, I don't know, they didn't even have an organic funnel before. And then I brought in one guy, for example, like a month and a half ago, I was like, we need to open up this position, like we need to bring somebody in. And I hired him, and then in 6 weeks, he brought in $160,000.
Wow.
And just like, it was just like, oh, now it's like she's bringing in like the 7 figures for the company. And it's like, okay, I've learned how to do those things for them because I was able to have the freedom to sort of be like, we need 4 more editors. They have the team, they have the funds for it, right? And it's been a really cool experience to be with them. Ran by Michael Sartain is the face of the company. I don't know if you're familiar with him in town, but it's a very different vibe than my brand. It's a very different vibe than my brand. But love them as a team behind. They're just such good people, and they work together so well. And I love working with the men. And it's helped me become a better businesswoman, honestly.
That's so funny, because you're the second woman that tells me that exact information. I was talking earlier with Nora Aguirre. She's a realtor, and she has 20 plus years of experience, and that she has exactly the same experience. She's like, I can talk bad about men because I've mostly of my entire career I've been working directly with them, and I've learned so much, and I've taken all the tools because they way of thinking like very manly, you know, like they're very strategic in certain things, and then I'm complementing with my feminine side, which I'm a woman, I'm more creative, I'm more nurturing, and then I'm combining all those skills and creating something that's very unique.
Yeah.
So how important is, because we can say, you know, we hear some women complaining about, oh, it's a man's world and it's like full of man, but I think that now we're seeing it as an opportunity of, well, what can I learn from this successful, high productive man, and then apply what I know, what makes me different as a woman, and have, you know, like this own mix per se.
Yeah, I think if you focus on the differences, like if you even think it's because I'm a woman, and you bring that to the table, I think that's the energy you're going to get back. And because you can look at the men I've worked with, oh, I can imagine what it's like working with those men, and it's never been any of those things for me. And I would love more female clients, but 90% of my clients have been men, and I have strong female clients, but I've learned a lot about them. We've never had a discussion sitting across from each other where we talked about being the only woman in the room. Like we don't even think of it. And I think that has to obviously do with upbringing. Like you could say, oh, it's because of my bad experiences. And I'm like, I think as a woman, we've all had bad experiences with men, but I just also choose who I work with. And I've definitely had difficult times in the past when I didn't have any power, but I knew that I was going to build a business where I had power and I had a say. And then I come to the table with that, and I don't lead with the foot that I'm a woman or not. And I don't bring it up. They don't bring it up. And it's never been an issue. And so I feel like if you work more so on the fact that you can have more power in your own life and your own business, or even if you work with somebody that you do so well that you can make a choice to work with somebody that's not an asshole, then that helps solves a lot of the issues, because there's really, really good men out there who want to learn from women. And obviously there's terrible men too. But then you have a choice.
Exactly.
Then you have a choice, right? Because I'm sure, think of the difficult women you've worked with, and then it's just and they're like, why single out the men? I've actually had less drama, less issue with the men, but something in me had to change too. I used to be that girl that was like, and I don't knock it, but I was very just like more spiritual, creative. I love the creative side. I'm still creative, but I led with that foot. And then when I worked with Cody, actually, who was from Wall Street, where's the numbers to back what you're doing? Like, okay, how can you measure the value of that? How can you measure the value of that? What's the numbers? What are we growing? It was very analytical, and I struggled in the beginning because I'm just like, well, I just didn't think like that. But working with her for 18 months, and that team that grew, when I say that, like it changed everything about how I do business today, because I come to bat with analytics. I come with numbers. I take out the emotion, and I come first with like, look, the emotion does matter, but if you have really shitty systems and processes in place, it's never going to work.
Yes.
It's never going to work for you. You can't just show up with like, I dream of manifesting. You have to have a plan and a strategy, and you need to be able to put that energy with it too, that I believe it's going to happen because I'm doing the work, because I'm willing to learn. And so I changed a lot from that, and that helped me be more confident about what I brought to the table when I sat across from a man who typically has a more analytical mind. And so because I was able to speak their language.
I love what you're saying right now. It's so interesting because my dad is a businessman, and I had a conversation with him not so long ago, and I was like totally in my emotions. Like I just wanted to cry and say, oh my God, I miss you. And I started like talking about my life, and then he stopped me. Like he's zero emotions, like you said, super analytical. And he stopped me right there. And he's like, okay, now say the same thing, but in numbers. And I was just like, what do you mean? And I'm like, don't talk emotions, like talk numbers. And then I started like bringing certain, like he helped me to get through that point. And they're like, there was no emotion at that point. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to cry. You know, I start feeling like how my mind started to work in a different way and see his perspective. And that helped me a lot. And I'm not saying with this like, oh, let's just forget about our emotions and become all critical. And no, let's embrace both, but let's take it for our advantage when we need to apply it specifically for business, for planning, for investments, for, this is where we want to bring it into the table and use it. So I just feel that that's very powerful, what you just said.
And powerful what you said too. I mean, and it's not that emotions are powerful, but they can either fuel you or they can slow you down. And you have to learn how to have control over your emotions, because they can lead you the wrong way, and they can lead you to stop when you just started because it doesn't feel good. And they can lead you out of really good opportunities because you're scared and you're thinking that maybe a sign, and it wasn't a sign. It's just resistance in your body that
exactly
I'm doing something new and I have to start over. I don't know what I'm doing. And just learning to gauge them and go, okay, is this like my emotion that's like trying to hold me back, read into something, take something too personal, be offended? Or is it just like me, or is it just me like reading the room wrong? Or is it something that's like, okay, no, I should be listening to my emotions right now. They're tapping into something that I need to like listen to,
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for all of this information. I'm still like processing everything, and I'm really thankful that you were able to come into this space and share everything that you know. If I sign up right now, when is it going to start?
Yeah, and I'll give you the link too. So you join the waitlist now. It'll be out in 30 days. It's called Reels Revolution. And I'm teaching you how to be the go-to expert within 7 days on Instagram. Really, it's just giving you the power of knowing what to do just to lay down the groundwork to really launch you. And so I made it a very actionable course. I'm very excited for that to go live.
That's awesome. So where can we find all your social media handles?
It's at Char Modelle, CharModelle, or at Brand Social Consulting is my business. And you'll find either one on all platforms.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode. I'm so thankful for having such a special guest today, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.